Works this week. Welcome back once again. Can I get an audio check, please? Because I don't know if our audio is working, because it never seems to work. Survey says
it is working.
Oh my god, we have audio. Let's go. All right, welcome back to another episode. Welcome back to another episode of Full Circle, where it's grand finals week, which means we get to talk about the finals and that were and the grand finals that will be. This one guy, Dio Miles, Dada, iFlame. We've got the gang all here. Dada with his lovely lighting, looking like some sort of ethereal presence.
He's Jesus.
Miles also in a different location than normal, so everything's just all sorts of mixed up and jumbled around this time, which is very exciting, except for iFlame, everything looks the same, and for me, everything looks the same, but, you know, so it goes. Hope everybody in the US had a good Thanksgiving. And yeah, it's grand finals week, so that means we get to start by talking about last week because, you know, logic. So we started off last week with one match in the semifinals that was the carryover. We talked at length about the China situation with them being replaced in the bracket. So we had that late match, Russia versus Romania. We went into finals, losers bracket, winners bracket final, etc. Before we get into that, I know Dada wanted to very briefly mention, and we're just going to touch on this for the most brief of moments because it's mostly been covered, but the latest round of OWC drama, which is our favorite thing this year, right? Last week we got to open with the FIA drama. This week we get to open with a very brief mention of the Heironi drama because it's mostly been corralled. It's mostly been consolidated into Peppy making a big long reply explaining what's going on. But I know Dada wanted to at least touch on this subject very briefly before we get started on matches, so we'll let him say his piece, and then we'll get into the finals recaps. So, Mr. Dada, with your lovely lighting, your lovely ethereal presence, take it away, sir.
Very, very briefly, so I don't dwell on this topic too much. Heironi, the drama with Heironi was he had his team chat. He was the captain of Team Turkey, and then he was just spamming that chat with absolute degeneracy. Let's just say that much. I don't want to get into it too much, but it was like racist memes, pedophilic memes, images that you probably don't want to share in official servers, and then images you definitely don't want to share in any servers. So, because of that, he was first removed from alumni, and then removed from alumni, and then later on he was restricted, and then he had this whole reaction with saying he did nothing wrong, it was all just a joke, etc., etc., etc. And then Peppy, the subreddit Peppy roasted him good. r/Peppy.
We have a new entrant
I do
Peppy roasted him good.
Yeah, Peppy went into the thread and he was like, actually, here's what you did, here's the things you did, and here's what we restricted you for, and you can't do these in official channels. And Heironi just basically called him a liar and said he didn't do any of it. So it's staff's word with basically all the GMTs that have any sort of tourney presence versus Heironi and the Turkish team's word. I'm a first-hand witness of the kind of stuff that was being posted in that channel, and I can tell you that it's not good. Even if it's just a joke, you don't share this stuff in official channels, and you're risking everybody in the Discord for OWC being banned, potentially, if it's reported to Discord, or the Discord itself is going to be deleted, and then everyone either gets a warning or a ban. So you're risking official staff accounts, players' accounts that have nothing to do with it, that can't even see the channel. So it's an extremely irresponsible act, and I don't know, man. It's just idiotic behavior. So that's my take on it.
The take: don't be an idiot. Long story short, just don't be an idiot.
That solves most of the problems with player drama restrictions, right? Just don't be a dumbass, and it's a pretty good rule of thumb.
I think most problems in life can be solved by that,
right?
Honestly.
I was thinking
that's pretty true. He's got a point.
All the issues of the world. Just don't do. My pen. I dropped my pen. Just don't do dumb shit. I don't know. How hard is this to figure out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's basically all there is
There you go.
to it.
We've solved world hunger. Good job, guys.
We've solved world war. We've solved.
hunger
We've achieved
and,
world peace.
world
Anyway,
peace,
if you want more details, go read the Peppy response on Reddit or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. We're done with this.
Yeah. That's all there is to it. Just he did stupid stuff. He talk shit.
He
Get
says
hit.
he didn't. Staff says he did. Blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Fuck around and find out. All right. So once we get into actual matches, so last week, first match, we had a Friday match because everybody loves Friday matches. I love Friday matches. I got to commentate a Friday match in OWC. That was the first time I've ever commentated an OWC match on a weekday.
Same for me. Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Dio and I got to hop in on the Friday afternoon for Romania versus Russia, which is a match that we predicted would go very differently than how it did. After how Romania looked the weekend before, I don't think people expected them to kind of come out firing the way that they did against Russia. They really kind of turned their fate around. Everything was very different than what we had seen from them previously. They got Nanoya back playing well. They got Dio with his dog.
Dio with my dog.
And
Dio's dog.
I don't know. It just felt like Russia wasn't really prepped as well as maybe they could have been, or didn't have the skill sets that they needed to be able to win that match. So we're gonna go. Let's go Dio because he was the other commentator on this match, so he was there firsthand to start off as we discuss a little bit the Romania, to our take, upset victory in their tiebreaker win over Russia.
Yeah, I was also the only person on this podcast to predict Romania to win. Granted, I kind of did that just as a little bit of contrarianism because I thought, having all 5 people vote Russia would be boring. So I thought Russia would win this too, but Romania kind of followed the path that we outlined. They got a couple breakpoints on some speedy picks that aren't necessarily, fully speed favored, like the DT3 from last weekend, right, in semifinal, or from 2 weeks ago now in semifinals. Which was really slider aim heavy, finger control heavy, etc. And they had some really good performances on aim control, finger control. They really kind of flopped on some of the aim consistency picks, and that's actually where Russia took breakpoints back and brought them to tiebreaker. And then you just saw God mode performances from Nanoya Satona Diamond on the tiebreaker to carry Romania into top 6 for the first time ever. So that match, in terms of the way that Romania won, I think about how we expected it to go. And that's kind of the path that we outlined for them when we talked about this matchup last weekend. In terms of the actual result, not what we expected. Romania definitely overperforming, having a really good day, a really good weekend, and just popping off, showing their potential. That's really what happened in this one.
Yeah, so I was expecting Romania to maintain their mental level from the weekend prior, and that was, I think, everyone's big mistake here. Because in theory, Romania, very good team, obviously. They have incredibly good players. They don't have really the depth at this stage, but they have very good players. They have very decent skill set, width. They have a pretty nice assortment of maps that they can pick and do well on. But they were just, last weekend against China, they were obviously very, very mentally out of it. And you could see that by their comments, by the whole fact that Nanoya didn't even bother showing up to the match for the most part. But for some reason, some we know, some we don't. For example, Nanoya had IRL troubles last weekend, or mentally they just wanted to prove us wrong. Like Madhu said, oh hey, everybody's doubting us, so let's show up and let's actually try hard. So for those reasons and some others that we don't know, they just came out swinging. It didn't look anywhere close to the tilted Romania we saw last week, and they were very, very solid. And yeah, Russia played well, but Romania, if they were in that Zen mode that we saw against Australia, for example, after going down 4-0, they were just nah, we don't really give a shit. We just kind of want to prove people wrong and steal the win. But Romania in that mode, they're probably better than Russia in most other 5th to 8th place teams. So yeah.
Also, this is like classic Russia. I do want to say, like, every year it feels like they get to semifinals and then they lose.
Oh,
I don't know what they can do. I don't know what they can do to fix it, but that's just the standard thing. Anyway, go ahead, Miles.
Weird. Yeah, so I think this match was really a testament to the chaos that has been running rampant in this OWC, partially due to the map pools of Mr. Dada up there being as much as you can say, like, there's a lot of messages about the map pool, like, oh, it was more of the same or whatever. But there was really a lot of maps that tested a lot of different skill sets in the map, which caused a lot of chaos, and it was really hard to give entire skill sets over to teams like you could do in years past, where it's like, oh, you have these maps, you know these teams are going to win. Like, Russia lost a speed pick, Romania lost 2 aim maps to this Russian team, and ended up just going to tiebreaker in what was an extremely close bout throughout the whole thing. And I think seeing South Korea in winners bracket grand finals is also something that could be attributed to that a little bit, but that's something that we're going to talk about later. But once again, this Romania squad, I think Nadia made up such a difference in this match. Like, he was one of the top performers in the matchup, getting that insane score on the tiebreaker, winning the match, making up so much of the difference that we thought this Russian team may have had an advantage on. And sadly, this Romanian team did get eliminated after this, but that top 6 finish from them was very impressive, and I look forward to seeing them next year for sure.
Yeah, after seeing quarterfinals, I was all in on Romania for being that top 6. I let my faith waver after seeing the semifinal stats, and clearly that was a mistake. Obviously, Nanoya really stepped up in this round, so I won't touch on that because everybody's mentioned it already. But tiebreaker performance especially was huge. And I think so far throughout the tournament, it has really been Eternum that's been the star player for Romania. So it was nice to see both Nanoya and Badu step up when Eternum performed maybe a little bit worse than usual. And then I think the key is the DT picks that Russia has been so good on all tournament. Romania was actually able to win 2 of those in DT1 and DT3 to get it to tiebreaker. Of course, Russia getting some break points back, but ultimately Romania able to come out on top, and they're going to be really happy with their placement this OWC.
I mean, top 6 for the first time. Like, and they had a roster with some new players this year, right? They brought in Raze, they brought in Howl Pleb. Am I getting that name right? I think I'm getting that name right. Yeah. And they brought in Keyhust, who granted didn't really play very much in the late rounds, but a team with now my browser's frozen. Nice. But a team with like several new players like that getting their country's best performance ever is not something to sneeze at. I was very impressed. And I don't know, like, so we talk, Russia has this happen every year. Like, what do they, like, they actually, you would expect them to have gotten better than this, right? Like, you have Ciccone, you have Vacman, you've got the players who can play everything in late stages. What is their route in the future? Like, we see what Romania has done. They brought in some new players. They've had their existing players improve. But what does Russia need to do to kind of like take this next step, do we think?
Markram. They need Markram to rank up and be active. That is literally what they need. Imagine this team with Markram, dude.
Actually, this team with Markram would be really insane.
More gimmick players, Pog.
Yeah. Actually, more gimmick players. No. I feel like for Russia, it's an issue of the core not being strong enough. You talked about some of the other players that Romania brought in, but fact of the matter is that 4 players for Romania really carried them through this whole tournament, and the other 4 on the team are there really just to fill in particular maps where one of those core 4 or 2 of those core 4 are not super comfortable, right? Because Eternum, Satono Diamond, and Lucrece played probably 90% of the maps, all 3 of them together, and then you have Badu subbing in for about half of them on the maps, on Romania's picks, where they're actually going for wins on the maps. And that kind of core strategy works really well for teams where you don't have as many choices as to the fill players for yourselves, right? For a team like the US, where, there's 20% of the top 5,000 is all American, right? So you just have as many choices as you want for players. For countries where you don't have that kind of choice, or where the tournament player base is not as big, you need a really, really strong core to get far. And I feel like Russia's core, while it was good, it was just simply not good enough against Romania. And that is what really ended up making the difference, and it's what carried Romania so far.
Yeah, I think that's the essence of it. I mean, you look at any team and go, well, where do you go? How do you improve from here? And the answer is kind of either, find new players or have your existing players improve. And that is easier said than done, obviously, unless you're the USA, new players don't appear out of nowhere. And so I feel like if Russia really wants to be able to crack this top six, we're going to need to see a new star from them in the next couple of years, unless we see massive improvements out of these core players on the side of Russia. I don't know that they're strong enough to compete against the other top six teams, unless we see the top six teams of present losing their core players or something along those lines. I just don't see it with this roster.
I disagree. Oh, sorry.
Okay, let me very quickly just say this: Russia needs to stop smoking the speed pipe.
Yeah, they need to learn other skill sets. I actually,
The
but I mean,
problem-
you did mention this in the map pool feedback, right? Where they've always relied on speed, and you're de-emphasizing speed in the pools. So they need to find other skill sets to be successful on.
For as long as I've known Russia, they have been a speed/HR team. Back when Index and Talala were their big players, back when Red Pixel and Apostle and sometimes
Elementary.
or Elementary as well as a hard rock player, they have always been this kind of speed HR team, and you couldn't make it that far even when speed was at its highest priority in the pool meta, when there were literally 3 stamina maps per pool with 4 DTs and a fast free mod and no Machu who's proper stamina. If you can't make it far with that on the pool, then it's time to branch out. It's time to try and
It's time to bring in Markram.
yeah, it's time
Bring
to
in Markram and
it's time to
go
bring some
Markram,
new players
Stroll,
into getting
Jitya.
the skill sets that your team lacks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to mention Welter as one of the new players on Russian Federation's team this year. He performed extremely well especially in this elimination match against Romania. He had the highest score on the Russian side of the tiebreaker until Romania just popped off in the second half of that map. They had it in the first half, but
We're not gonna lie.
yeah,
Not gonna lie.
Welter looked to be extremely strong for a newcomer on Team Russia, and as we've said, if they just bring in a few players to branch out their overall skill sets a little bit more, I think this Russia team can end up looking extremely strong in the years to come, especially if you make Markram play the game. That guy was so insane in some of the rank restricted scenes. He did really well in Hippo Cup even, yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all I have to say about this.
Yeah, that's
Russia
fair.
played well, come back next year, get some gimmick, and you'll be all good to go.
Yeah.
All right. So there's Romania versus Russia. That was a semifinals match. Next match was a quick one. Romania wins. They go on and they're greeted by the lovely sight of United States in the losers bracket round in finals week. You're not beating that. I'm sorry. I don't like.
No, they got slapped. They got
They
already
just,
smacked.
yeah, they were just always gonna get slapped. Congratulations, Romania, for reaching top 6 for the first time ever. But they were never winning this match. It was just not. It was not a question.
No, I mean, I was there for that one also. That was the one finals match that I got to cast this week, and it was a pretty quick one. It was close at the start. I will say there were USA went up 2-0 with a collective 110,000 point difference at the start of the map, right? Those are two very close picks. And then Romania got a point. So the first 3 maps were really, really close, and it looked good for Romania. And then the rest of the match happened, and USA just wins 6 in a row or 5 in a row after that, and it just didn't end up mattering at all. I don't know. USA got beat for the first time since 2018, and it was before winners finals from South Korea, and they said, all right, enough trolling around, and started actually trying last week. It felt like for the first time. It felt like for the first time they started actually trying. Wait, say the line.
Dio, say the line.
What line? Oh god, I'm out of the loop. I forgot.
They were out for blood.
Oh yeah. There you go. There we go. They're out for blood. They were out for blood last week, Aaron. Yeah, I don't know. It felt like they started trying for the first time. It felt like they started trying for the first time this tournament. That's what it felt like last week. Because they just didn't look good until finals.
Yeah, this USA team, it almost feels like in every matchup, they need like a few maps to, get warmed up and actually get into the match before they start doing what we would expect out of them as the USA. You look at their previous matches, this one included, they'll have like some close matches, maybe drop a couple of points at the start, and then you get past 4 maps and they're just blowing teams out of the water by 1,000,000 points, not even close. And this is exactly what we saw here.
Yeah, USA top scored 9 maps this week. That's all I want to say about this match, and you can move that over to the Poland match as well. USA top scored 9 maps this week and got second place on like a few of the ones that they lost to Poland. Like United States, this team is just back, and obviously there's more to talk about them in the predictions, but I think I'm just gonna hand it over to someone else.
See what Donna has to say.
I only have one comment, which is it's funny that during the football/soccer World Cup right now, this scoreline was 7-1. That's all.
How's you?
Yeah. Also, I do want to mention, somebody pointed out in chat, the Romania situation was kind of unique because normally you don't have teams playing back-to-back matches on different pools in a 2-day period. So like they had to practice the semifinals pool again to play against Russia, and then they had to go to the finals pool to play against the United States. So I think not quite as prepared as they maybe could have been otherwise given the circumstances, but I don't think it really would have made a difference anyway. So yeah, basically all there is to that one. I was just USA slapping it on the table and saying, all right, we're still here,
And
guys.
losing the Nomad 1 like they usually do.
Of course.
USA's history on Nomad
They
1.
bottom scored
Actually,
Nomad
this year they've been doing pretty well on Nomad 1s though, right? Like for the most part. I think they have like
didn't
better.
they lose it against Israel in round of 32? I'm pretty sure they lost
Yeah,
Nomad
they
1 to
did.
Israel.
Yeah,
in
they
round of
did.
32. Okay. Nah, take that back.
They've still
They
been
won
better
it.
than
Who
usual.
did
Like
they
they're
won
better
it
than
against Hong Kong, right?
Yeah,
they won
they
Nomad
did.
1 in that match. And I
that
don't
was messed
remember
up.
what other matches, if any, they may have played Nomad 1s in offhand.
I don't know.
It's interesting though to think of like USA as a mechanics team now, but we'll get to that I guess more. They scale well. All right, so the other match in the losers round 6 was Poland versus Canada, and we discussed a fair amount going into this how this match could go, and the two completely different ways that it could go. And I think it went the more surprising of those two ways, right? The option was Canada wins with roster depth, or Poland wins with Malashevsky. And what actually happened was Poland won with their team. And I was really yeah, like they won as a team, and Canada, I'm sorry to say, but Canada looked bad. Like after they just kind of stomped both their matches the previous week, they did not come ready for this match. I don't know why. I don't know a lot about the backstory. I heard they were having some team issues going into this match, but it was Poland looking good as a team and Canada looking bad as a team, which were just the completely flipped script for how I think most likely expected this match to go, though we did discuss at length, and I'm sick of Twitter flaming when we discuss at length a way for a team to win, and then they do it, even though we picked against them. Like, I don't know, it's kind of...
That's just what happens when you 5-0 predict the wrong team. That's
like,
just what happens when you 5-0 predict the wrong team.
We literally said, like, okay, the way for Poland to win this is for Malashevsky to solo carry stuff and maybe get a teammate or two involved. And that's literally what happened, even though we predicted against them. I don't know. Anyway, thoughts from the crowd. I want to hear... I don't know who I want to hear most. I want to hear a Canadian who's actually from Canada, a Canadian who's now from Canada, or somebody completely different. Let's go. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna make iFlame talk about it. The poor Canadian gets to talk about his country.
Poor guy.
Man, look, this is the story every year for Canada. You know, it just seems to be their curse. They're so consistent, usually so strong in these early rounds. They have the roster depth to put up very impressive team scores for pretty much every round, and then you get to the semifinals or the finals weekend, and the team just collapses, completely falls apart. And like you mentioned, they just didn't look good. It's not like, you know, they had some close match, but it was 7-2. It was not a particularly close match. Obviously, Malashevsky was the big performer. Zudinator was, I think, mostly comparable. But ultimately, the team of Poland just performed better. And I mean, you look at the stats throughout the entire tournament, okay? I'm a stats guy. I love stats, but the stats have absolutely lied to me in the last semifinals and finals. The players of Poland really stepped up, Nas especially. But even like Mastaz, Bartek, like Poland as a whole looks so much better this weekend. And so that ended up being all that they needed to beat Canada here.
Yeah, so the stats lied to you because of the chaos. There is not that much pool
Yeah.
continuity this year, so you cannot draw conclusions just by looking at which teams did better in semifinals, and that came to light so much in this matchup. While Malashevsky was obviously doing his thing, matching Zudi, and outplaying Zudi as well on a lot of different maps, you saw a different player step up to be that number 2 on almost every map. Like the one on screen now, we saw Mishny getting about 600k on this. It's a really good score from him, and then on quite a few maps actually. I believe it was 2 or 3 maps. Mustache actually getting a very high score, which was a lot of how Poland ended up winning those points. And other players like YPan on DT4 and stuff like that. That was just an absolute masterclass from Poland on how to dismantle this Canadian team, which obviously did not have that good of a day. But I mean, my brain just blanked. I've been a Canada doubter for so many years. Like I did not think they would get the placement they did last year or the year before that. And now this is the year. This is the year. I was like, guys, Canada's getting top 2 this year or top 3 this year. And now they fizzle out in top 6. Like, come on, dude. I finally believed in you, and now you're fizzling out against Poland. As well as Poland played, I kind of expected a little more from this Canadian roster.
Yeah, it felt like they had really weird picks also in this match. Like, they first picked Hard Rock 2 into Poland, who, when you look at the semifinals statistics and just like how they picked throughout the rest of the tournament, Poland's really good at that. I don't know why they picked it first into Canada. Poland was picking Hard Rock 2 pretty often, actually, throughout the tournament, and just generally having pretty damn good scores on it. And they picked it into them and lost on the first pick. They banned Hidden 3 No Mod 5, which, again, against Poland, makes a lot of sense. They had double speed banned against them, so you expect them to pick some speed maps. They lose the Hard Rock 2 pick and then go into No Mod 1 afterwards, which, like, okay, you've got double speed bans against you, you're down a breakpoint, and you again go into an aim map. You lose it by 400k on that one. Poland wins No Mod 3, so Poland has now won a precision aim pick, DT4, so the high BPM alt aim control pick. They lost No Mod 1 on their own pick, so Poland now wins aim consistency, precision aim, fast alt aim, and normal alt aim on Koe in No Mod 3. Canada finally goes into the free mods, which is the other category they're really good at, right? They have very, very good free mod players. We've discussed that, blah, 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 all throughout the tournament. Poland wins the tech map. Canada finally picks speed because they're down 5-2. Poland wins hidden 1, which no surprise. And then Canada picks the last open hidden map. Why? You banned No Mod 5 and hidden 3, and then you pick hidden 2. I just, like, I'm sorry. They just boggled the mind. The picks just boggled my mind during that match. I didn't know what I was looking at with some of those picks. And I feel like it's really disappointing because of the faith that a lot of us had in Canada to see them, from my perspective, fumble the picks a lot because they're picking into things that Poland is traditionally good at. Poland is having a good day. They're clearly not having one. I feel like you need to pick into stuff that favors you more. Like No Mod 2 going untouched in that match, for example, just seems so weird to me. I don't know why that wasn't picked up at some point.
And they, like, yeah, that's the thing. I was sitting here like, why are you not picking No Mod 2? Please, just pick No Mod 2 for the love of God, and they never did.
Everyone that analyzed both of these teams knew, hey, Canada, you should pick DT2 and No Mod 2 in this match. This would be a good idea. You pick one very late and you don't even contest the other one.
Yeah.
What are these decisions? Like, we've seen time and time again. We've seen Canada basically throw a DT2 against South Korea because of bad lineup decisions. We've seen, like...
Yeah.
Man!
All right.
Like-
The take is that Canada just needs to blow it up. Like, I'm
Yes.
sorry,
Rebuild.
they just
They
need to
need to
blow it
rebuild.
up.
Yeah.
Like, you have a year like this where every major team is either looking the most beatable they've ever looked or has, like, severe questions about, like, whether they're good or not. Like, Germany, obviously, they look weird because they don't have Dustis, they don't have, like... They don't have some of these players, and, like, they don't necessarily have, like, this one-man carry that the other teams have. Obviously, Whitecat is good, Clear is good, but you have South Korea, who, at the start of the tournament, looked like a weird-ass roster. Like, you thought, oh, hey, they have no tuna, they're probably not going to make that much noise. They're probably still good, but then you have the United States, where, like, in the middle of the tournament, they get beaten by South Korea. Everybody's like, is the US finally done? Is the US dead? Like, every nation is at a point where they have doubts surrounding them, and Canada is the one. Canada is the one where they have 4 people that are really good. They have, like, this extremely good roster, the best they've ever looked, and they were always, like, second or third, and they had, like, good seeding and good qualifier results. They have everything to go, like, super far this year, maybe even win it all. And then you go over here and you get out in 6th, in 5th. Like, what?
I need to keep doubting them.
Yeah. I need to
Yeah.
keep doubting them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Alright, guys.
like
Apparently-
hard underseeded them
Not
in the tier
qualified
list
next
last
year.
year, and they
They
got
simply-
third or fourth.
They
Like-
simply do not have that dog in them. I don't know. Like,
No,
they
that's-
just don't.
I feel like that's it, though. I feel like the avoidance of particular picks that you know are going to be good for them just has to scream lack of confidence from the roster on those types of maps. Like, I don't have any other explanation for it besides maybe particular players are feeling unconfident and they just don't want to play them. Because why else would you pick this hidden 2 into Poland, of all teams, right?
I
Like,
don't
why
think-
would you not pick the Nomad 2
I
at
don't
that
think
point
it's
in the
even
matchup?
lack of confidence, right? I think it's
I
just
don't know
lack
what
of,
else
like,
explains it, though. Like,
studying
Carry.
the opponent.
Yeah, I don't know if they were
Something. I don't
prepped
know.
adequately.
it just
like,
felt
maybe-
so weird. It just felt like a weird match.
That match.
Um,
I mean, I was
very
sitting there
disappointing.
commentating it. I was sitting there commentating it, and it's like Malashevsky is just doing stuff, but Canada is not opting into things that will prevent Malashevsky from doing stuff. Like, Canada is just letting Poland get their best maps and not picking optimally. Yeah.
yeah.
Listen,
I'm sure they have their
Oh,
reasons,
God.
but it's just always really frustrating to see a team that you know can do very, very well not take advantage of their strengths against a particular other team, even if that means picking maps they might be a little bit uncomfortable on. I don't know. It just feels
Yeah.
very frustrating.
I mean, I do want to come out in defense of Canada's picks a little bit. I'm not saying their picks were amazing or anything. I think they could have done better. But the Hard Rock, they had 3 breakpoints that match. 2 of them were incredibly close. The Hard Rock won, losing that by 50k. The HD2 at the end, losing that by about 100k. So both close. The only one they got blown out on was the Nomad 1, which has throughout the tournament been one of Canada's best picks. And then when you actually look at the Nomad 2, on paper, this is an incredible Nomad 2 team. But throughout the tournament, they've actually just looked abysmal on Nomad 2s. I'm not 100% sure why. Just last week in semifinals, they bottom scored the Nomad 2. So, like, I'm not sure what's going on with this team, but they just have looked really bad on Nomad 2s when they really shouldn't. And I don't think it's really fair to say, you know, if they had just picked better, they would have won this match. I think they just got outplayed and played worse. So, regardless of picks, I think Canada was just outclassed in this one, and it is incredibly disappointing when you look at the roster and you look at the expectations going into the tournament. It's it's depressing every year, man. Every year.
Yeah.
Why
I
not
just
play next
wanna-
year?
The Thieves will play next year, like Dummy said once. Thieves, why are you not playing
Known
for Canada?
Canadian thieves.
Known Canadian tournament player Thieves. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he did play on a Canadian tournament team in like what Course Ace last year? It was a bunch of Canadians.
2020, I think it was. Or was it 2020? I think it was
I
2021.
thought it was 2020. I thought it was 2021. I don't know.
I think it was. He was on the team with Xylus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
But he lives in Ohio now. Ooh.
Yeah, that might be a problem.
Ooh.
Boo.
We
All
hate
right.
Ohio.
All right. So
Let's go on to the
yeah,
last
Canada
bracket
Canada
match.
got to blow it up. They got to figure some shit out for next year because obviously this can't keep happening. And whatever's going on behind the scenes that led to the team that they had this year and the performances and map selections and stuff they had this year is just not it. Like they shouldn't be going downward trajectory with this kind of roster. And I think
The
that's
Adri
kind of
UK,
all there
you
is to
finished
it.
worse. What happened?
Yeah.
I mean, like, if there's one positive to be taken from this year is that Zudi is like the Canadian Utami.
Oh, Zudi's
Zudi
really good.
is-
Zudi's
is, like,
really good.
I was gonna say the guy, but Zudi is
Yeah,
the girl.
Zudinator is the
She's
UK
him.
of Canada.
She is
She's
him.
him. She's him.
He possesses the dog.
True.
So we got the winners, right? We got Poland over Canada. We got United States over Romania. That set up the Poland versus United States losers round 7, third and fourth, fourth and top 3, I guess, place match. And this was again USA coming out and doing very similar things to what they did to Romania. Again, like USA looks good again. I feel like is the biggest takeaway from that. Yeah, it stayed close early, but Utami was basically there to match Malashevsky and actually managed to pull that off this time. And USA just kind of ended up winning. I don't know. I watched this match and I feel like I didn't watch this match because apparently my memory just doesn't work. So I'll leave this up to basically other people. Who actually I don't even remember who commentated this. This was Fiery and Dada, right? You were on the comments for this, yeah?
Yes.
So we'll go Dada to start here for Poland USA.
It was really funny to see the Poland start like very dominantly, and then see Malashevsky like shit talking chat, I believe, where he was like, "Oh, Poland is just Malashevsky, guys." The like nerd face. But yeah, despite the very early scare and some really close points, the US had this in the bag after this like weird slow start that they always seem to have. Really, the Reggie Gigas of the OWC this year, where like obviously Poland played well, but we kind of we thought about this with this roster. We saw this coming, where if you're against a team that has 3 to 4 players that are very good per map, just having 1 or 2 that have good performances isn't enough. And that was kind of that for the Poland roster. Like, Malashevsky wasn't always FCing. He was FCing some maps, but he was always matched. And then the 3 other players, one of them had good scores, or maybe 2 of them had decent scores, but the players in the US just had like a higher level overall. And it's sad to see because, you know, if the US was still in winner's bracket, you never know how this could have gone. Like, maybe if Poland faced South Korea here, maybe there's a world where they make this more competitive, maybe even pull off an upset. But like, this matchup was not favorable for them.
I think.
Can I just say real quick, as we're watching the Fremod 4 on the little window there, that was like the most depressing final map of a match that I've ever seen in my life, where it's a 4.5 minute long Fremod and it's over a minute in, and you just have to sit and wait through Poland getting 3 B ranks to lose the match. I've never seen anything that sad to end a match before.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this was kind of the match that we expected Poland-Canada to be, where, like, this was the match where it was Malashevsky versus the world, and the world was just stronger in this case.
Is that
Like-
Waru though?
Zawardo was just stronger in this case. Important because they lost their pick on the JoJo map also during this match. USA was down 3-1 and then won the match 7-3. They won 6 picks in a row. Their own picks were not close at all. I'm looking at their picks right now. It was 500k on DT2, 360k on No Mod 2, and then we talked about the free mod 4, 980k on that map for the US. Poland's picks, yes, were close, but were still all losses, mostly because the team difference was just too big. You look at the free mod 1, Fancy Lad top scored that with 689k. So not even Malashevsky was getting really good scores on that for Poland, and him missing in the middle and getting less than 600k is a big part of that. Nahu's at 600k just couldn't carry it either. You look then at the hidden 3 for Poland, and it was Malashevsky top score with 700k, but the rest of the roster is all perma-stuck in the 400k range, and the USA has multiple people above 500k. And then last but not least, you look at the hidden 2, and it's a pretty similar story. It's in this case, Malashevsky and Nahu's performing really well on it, but Bartek and BMG just not having good enough scores on the map, both stuck in the 400k range. Meanwhile, you have Utami full comboing it, Takedo with an S rank, and Fancy Lad with 650k on the map. It's like they just didn't have the team scores. And that's kind of how we expected the Canada match to go. But this is the USA instead showing off the depth of roster that we expected from them all along, finally against this Poland roster in the 4th place decider match. I feel like that's kind of the whole story of this match, is that the USA just kind of finally turned it on and started showing up and having really, really good team scores, because a lot of the maps that Poland lost, they were second on the map only to the United States.
Yeah. This match looks so good at the start. Poland going up 3-1. I sent a message to my Polish friend. I went, "This match is so good. Are you watching it?" And then the USA
then
went
it
on
was
to win
no
the next
longer
6 maps, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have sent that message. But regardless, Utami was there to match Malashevsky, and this is the first time I think we really see Malashevsky be truly matched. Utami and Malashevsky's performances were extremely comparable in this one. And then obviously you look at these two teams, and USA just has the much stronger supporting players outside of those two. They're just the stronger team. When you look at the picks, yes, Poland lost some close matches, but they also won some close maps. They won one map by 9,000 points. They won another map by 50,000 points. So those could have gone either way as well. And I think this match went more or less as we expected it to. The supporting players from Poland performed a little bit worse. And I think, like Miles mentioned earlier, the USA top scored 9 maps this weekend. Last week, they top scored 5 of them. This week, it's 9. This team just keeps getting better and better as we get farther into the tournament. It feels like other teams are having a little bit of a hard time keeping up with how much depth the US has in its roster. And so I'm interested to see how that's going to carry over to the grand finals weekend when the pools are as hard as they're going to get.
Yeah, so as most of the analysis has been done, I'd like to be the priest at the funeral of this Polish roster for OWC. They got 4th
There you
place.
go.
But as Malashevsky said in the, I guess, BM when they were up 4-1, or 3-1, Polish no team BTW. Yeah, so they had a team. They used it to beat Canada, and they used it to get 3 good points on the board against the US. Obviously, with some players popping off, we saw a lot of great performances from Ganahus in this match, getting the top score of the weekend on the heavily picked Nomad 3, as well as, I believe, who else was it that popped off as well? Rafis on that HR2.
Raph is on Hard Arc 2,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
And then Malashevsky on the rest. I think Malashevsky bringing this spark of hope into the Polish roster should be hugely motivating. While maybe they got the spot that we projected they would get in the tournament. They got top 4, which is a very good finish in comparison to every single year since 2017. And I think Poland should be very motivated by this. Like, they put on a really good show without some of their key players from prior years. No Wolf, obviously, but Malashevsky is there, and this should be the motivator for the entire player base of Poland. Obviously, they were not quite in that podium, but with some more players in the next years, Dada, stop staring into my soul.
Dada, you good, bro? Dada, you good, bro?
Knowing that
He's
at
not.
least
Oh my.
knowing that at least one of their players doesn't want to play anymore. One of
Yeah.
their very key players.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
Makes that kinda sad.
They
Bartek,
lose Bartek next year in all likelihood, but
but they should get more players. Like
Yeah.
Gnav has played great. If he keeps improving, if Mishny comes back, if you get Rafis to come along another year, and the player base is like, holy shit, guys, we have Cookiezi, we need to pop off, and then maybe you spawn another like really good player, then this Polish team could get back to the podium, I think, in the next few years. So obviously, round of applause for Poland. They got their top 4, but now they are unfortunately eliminated by the hands of the boogeyman. So
Yeah,
Nice
I think they should be happy. When you look at predictions, I think predictions have been pretty relatively spot on so far. I mean, South Korea obviously overperforming, Canada underperforming, but Poland, Germany placing pretty much exactly where most people predicted so far. And I think Poland's going to be pretty happy with this one. But I also want to call out, it was nice to see Bashiman playing some maps for the USA in that match and actually putting up some good scores. Has not really been a factor for the USA in most previous rounds. So it was nice to see him getting some maps in and playing well on them.
USA, a little back to being USA. I'm excited for Poland in the future. But we have one match of the finals weekend left. And that is the winners bracket final. South Korea versus Germany, which I predicted that South Korea would lose so that I could actually predict South Korea to win, and that came through in the clutch. It worked out. I'm okay with it. I feel like
dog in them.
The dog.
I feel like this match was kind
The
of a little bit of a mirror of Poland versus Canada, where going in, you had South Korea, which was like, okay, it's got to be Karcher and worst HR player, and Germany probably has the better roster top to bottom. And it just that script just got flipped on its head, and this in much the same way that the Poland versus Canada script did, because South Korea had their entire team play well. Karcher and worst HR player played amazingly well, but all their other players performed as needed as well. And Germany, much like Canada, I don't want to say this in a rude way, but they underperformed pretty badly as well. Like, that match did not go the way you would expect it to have on Germany's side, but also South Korea played really, really well. I feel like they have this team that I've said it before. They have worst HR player and Karcher, and then whoever they put in is just always going to get like 500, 600K. Like, it just happens. And I think a cool thing about that team is that they're kind of proving, and I saw somebody say this on Twitter, but they're kind of proving that you don't have to have a laundry list of who's who names in the community tournament scene to be able to perform well in OWC, because they've got several players who are kind of random seeming, like people that we're not as familiar with, that we don't see in tournaments, month in, month out, who are coming in and showing up in the World Cup, like Allegrisimo or Parisia, for instance. And I think it's really cool to see, and it's something that'll be interesting as well going forward for like other countries, when what they can take away from this, if they're countries that don't have the big name players, or that have players who aren't the big name players but that they think are good. Like, are you more willing to put them on your roster now? Or are you more willing to come into OWC and be like, look, we put together a roster that people aren't familiar with, but they can still do well. Look at what South Korea is doing, getting top 2 in every World Cup this year, by the way, in every mode, which is super, super cool. So this was an exciting match.
I think China took away the wrong message from that. Like,
well,
bruh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
anyway, what, like, this match just shows that statistics don't exist, that the eye test lies, and that everything is chaos. This OWC, like, has no rationale behind it. Because Germany, coming into this match, Germany destroyed every opponent. Like, they had no competition. They destroyed Poland. not destroyed, but like they very easily
6-3.
dispatched
Maybe of
Poland.
6-3, like, yeah.
It wasn't close, at least. Like, it looked fairly routine for them. And then every other match, like, Germany just very in control. They looked like the most solid team in this tournament. They come into this match, you know, pool hasn't changed difficulty-wise that much, yet all of a sudden they look completely outmatched. South Korea, despite having the closest matches for the last two rounds, and like not statistically being like the best team, they always have like these very weird scores, these maps that they look very shaky on. They come to this match and just destroy. Like, what are you supposed to take away from this other than South Korea is the fucking predestined team to win this OWC and that nothing's gonna get in their way? Like, I'm done trying to do analysis. I'm done trying to like predict winners. I'm just embracing chaos, embracing the narrative. Like, South Korea is cookiesy. Not literally, but like
They are
figuratively.
They have.
They do not have
They
cookies this year.
Do not have
However, they are
cookiesy, but they are
El
cookiesy.
Cookiesy
Yes.
Coreano.
Yeah. I want to touch on what Aaron was saying earlier with the roster building stuff for South Korea. One of the things that I thought was really interesting. So I played a rank 5K, or I didn't play, but I was helping select the team for the USA during a rank 5K World Cup. And I don't know if they do it the same for OWC, but South Korea's team there didn't bother paying any attention to previous tournament results, didn't look at who actually signed up at all. They just hosted tryouts and took the top 8. And that was it. They just took the top 8 players by tryout average score, and that was their team. Like, that's all they did.
That's
Yeah.
what Gomo used to do, and
which
that's
was-
why Karuna
The
almost
Karuna
didn't make it one year.
method, yeah.
It's really interesting because basically everybody else uses tryouts to just kind of help inform decisions that are already largely made, whereas Korea just says, no, if you don't perform in tryouts, we don't trust you to perform in the tournament, and if you perform in tryouts, we trust you to perform in the tournament. And maybe there's something to that method because it seems to be working for Korea in literally every mode World Cup this year, where they have secured top 2 in every single mode. So, maybe more teams should do that. Maybe more teams should just straight up take top 8 from tryouts and use that for their whole roster because it seems like it works.
I
It
mean,
really seems like it works. I don't know if they do the same thing in the World Cups, but that's how they were doing it in rank restricted World Cups in standard, and it seems like it might have something to it.
Just take skill cap players and trust that they'll do well in a tournament setting.
Yeah.
USA
I don't
kind
know.
of did that with Decatur because they
Yeah,
had like
they
a
did.
runoff match between like him and Kablaze and was there one other person? I forget offhand.
It wasn't.
but-
It wasn't Swick. It was. Who's the other
don't-
guy? Who was the other guy?
Is it not
I'd have to go
Fiery?
back. I don't remember.
It wasn't
Because-
Fiery.
It might have
I
been.
don't
Was it
No,
Razor?
not Pincus. It was Razor Fruit. It was
Razor
Razor
Fruit,
Fruit.
yeah, Razor Fruit.
So that's like how the USA got their 8th. So they did like a combination of factors there. But yeah, really unique team choice
And-
style for South Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think just taking it's an interesting idea. I don't think taking the top 8 is the optimal roster strategy because you definitely will have tryouts where, let's say, your top 4 core players are all going to be like insane hard rock players, for example. And so obviously at that point, let's say your 8th place guy gets in based off of like really impressive hard rock scores. You don't need more hard rock at that point. And so I think it can definitely work out in some tournaments, but I won't say it's optimal.
Yeah, so I was one of the people who predicted for South Korea to win this match, and I didn't really believe it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna vote South Korea because I thought Canada and the US were better than this Germany roster, and South Korea managed to beat them both in tiebreaker. So you know what? I embraced chaos last week. It appears Dada's embracing chaos now going forward, and we accept you into the faction, Dada, but on paper, I really expected this Germany roster to win. Like, we all predicted them to be more deep, and we expected Whitecat and Kriller to probably do similar things that we would expect out of Karcher and worst HR player, but obviously that just did not really happen in this match. But one thing I'd like to note is that this match is closer than the score really made it out to be. Like, South Korea clutched on a lot of these picks. And I think that's really one of the scariest things about them is that they combo into the end. This point showing right now on this hidden 2 is the prime example of this. Like, they just, even if they miss in the beginning, they get their combos back and they combo into the end. Like,
Say
you
the line,
can-
Miles. Say the line. What do they got at them?
That dog.
Also,
got that dog in them.
Shout out to Amamiya Kokoro getting Bancho missed right there, because that completely ruined the entire commentary for that map, because all of a sudden he just had 600 combo and like 80k score more than he had a moment before. That was really cool Bancho break. I
Shout out to
remember
Bancho
commentating
breaks
that and
in
being like
general.
super confused.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
but,
bancho
like,
breaks. Those are really cool.
yeah, they're awesome. But South Korea just looked really good in this match. They held their combos and they won points, and that's really
Also, like,
how you win.
it was
Yeah.
3-3, and they won 4 maps in a row. Like, they just clutched this match out. Once DT2 was gone, like, they win Hidden 2, they win Nomad 1, they win Hard Rock 3, and then they win Hard Rock 2. And it's just boom over.
Yeah.
Like,
of
they
those
just said
maps-
we're winning now.
Yeah, of those 4 maps, they won Hidden 2 by 20,000 points and Nomad 1 by 13,000 points. So we were about 35,000 points away from this being like a
Yeah.
tiebreaker or something instead. But I also have to call out Karcher outperforming Malashevsky
That
for the
guy.
round. Only other player to do so was Zudinator back in like the second round of the tournament, I think. But otherwise, it's been all Malashevsky at the top. And Karcher was just an absolute beast this round. Worst HR player, I think everybody thought the match would be close, but generally throughout the tournament, White Cat and Kriller had been the better duo compared to Karcher and worst HR player, and that was just not the case. Karcher has been absolutely insane all tournament, stepping it up for this round, and somehow we're in the timeline where it is South Korea, the team I personally would have expected to be, 5th out of that top 5 going into the tournament, now are in the winner's side of grand finals, and
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Just to because the performance scores are based off of a match
Getting
cost
copyrighted
formula that I
straight, yeah.
developed. I just want to go into that real quick because Karcher actually has a lower average score.
He has lower
and the
every
same-
metric. He has lower
Yeah.
every metric, and he has a
By
higher
every
performance
metric,
score.
he is actually lower than Malashevsky. The reason why his performance score is higher is because there is more gappage going on in Karcher's match. He's just that much better than the median player on the maps that he is playing. So
You mean like
if you're
that? Like
wondering
that
why
score right
he's
there?
ranked higher, he's just gapping people that much harder within his particular match. So that's just how it goes. He's just gapping them. He's just that guy. He's really just that
him.
guy.
He's him. I don't know. He's him. Karcher is the Justin Jefferson of OWC 2022.
Karcher is the
Clearly.
flying tuna of South Korea.
True.
That's just all there is.
Oh,
he really
wild.
is.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on finals week before we move on? Because we've got predictions to do, and I know people are always most excited about that.
Nothing makes sense anymore.
Nothing makes sense.
So true.
Embrace chaos, because it is going to win in this OWC no matter what the podium looks like.
All right. So, grand finals week. We have 2 matches and 2 matches only. I think we're going to talk about all 3 possible outcomes, but the first one is already set in stone. Losers bracket final. Germany, United States. They meet up in a late round once again. It's been an every year thing, except this is the first time it's happening in losers bracket, which is a little weird. USA looked better in finals week than Germany. I don't really think that that's debatable. United States do not lose to Germany. It just doesn't happen. They figure out a way to win in this matchup year after year. And I have to think that if you're United States, you come into OWC thinking about Germany, right? Like, that's the team, because it's the team. It was the team in 2020. It was the team in 2021. So that's the team. If you're United States, you're coming in thinking this is the team we need to assemble a roster to beat, regardless of anything else that happened this year in the actual tournament. That was the team that they were thinking about coming in most, I would have to assume, based on the last couple of years. And it's something that we didn't really discuss a whole lot, but a little bit. Germany underperformed last weekend, and there is this little concern in the back of my head that Germany is outscaled. They don't have Dustis anymore, who has been historically their best player in late rounds, early rounds, middle rounds, all rounds. They bring in some new players who are playing like okay, and they have Kriller and Whitecat kind of not at their best so far in this tournament. And all that informs a very difficult decision to make about what's going to happen this weekend. And so we're just gonna go. We're just gonna go left to right. I want to go last because I don't know. I just want to. So we'll go Miles first. United States, Germany, losers bracket final. One of these two teams gets top two. One of them gets third.
Okay, so first I'm going to preface this by saying that after finals week, I am very scared for Germany's depth players. Obviously, I'm still going to be confident in Kriller and Whitecat because they are just the guys. They're the guys. They have shown in community tournaments and OWC that they have what it takes to be the guy, and they are the power roster for any map on Germany's side. But other than that, we saw a lot of players start to fall off. The bottom scores on that team kind of being a little bit subpar compared to a team like the United States, only top scoring a few maps in comparison to the US for the whole weekend. And the US, as the team that is the standard for depth in a national tournament, I just can't doubt them. Obviously, I've been talking about embracing chaos and all that, and United States is like the textbook way to make a tourney team. Like they've got the players for these skill sets and these skill sets. I'm still gonna believe in the US. I'm gonna say US by a score of like 7-3. But Germany can do a lot of damage if that power duo starts to turn on. And obviously, the United States, we don't know what their depth players. They have a lot of new players this year. We don't know what they're going to do outside of, I'd say, the core 4 USA roster of Fancy, Rectigon, Taquito, and Utami. Outside of those 4, I don't know how much I trust them. And that gives us a showdown where it might have a lot of reliance on these super players. And if that is the case, Germany can bring this really far. Germany can bring this to TV. But I just trust the US. Obviously, I've been voting US for every single match in this tournament. I'm not going to stop here. I think they're better than Germany, but Germany can win, and I'm really excited to watch this match. Cavo, give me my flag.
Give him the US
Where's
flag.
Cavo? Put the US flag under Miles.
Please.
There we go.
Yes,
All right.
I believe that we will win. I believe
that we will win.
Guys,
Guys,
I have voted
Guys.
the US for every match, despite being the consensus on this panel. I am the consensus, like, anti-US, like, you know, this year, finally, this year we'll have an upset. I'm voting Germany.
Okay.
I'm voting Germany because this poll is weird. And this poll is weird enough to that I think that to the point that I think some of the US players are going to feel relatively uncomfortable on it. And so will Germans. So we'll have a showdown where essentially it's going to be the Germany like high skill cap level players versus the US high skill cap level players. And when it's that, I think that Germany having Quiller, having Whitecat, having Okinamu, Neox, like they're built for that sort of like high skill cap style. The US, they have Utami, obviously phenomenal player. Fancify, obviously phenomenal player. But then after that, they have Rectigon, who like he's good. He's very good, obviously. He's looked a little bit shakier on speed picks, I believe, this time around. I don't think he has like the same speed like dog in him that he's had previously. Like he had a B rank on the finals DT3. He had a little bit of a shakier score, I believe, on the other speed map as well that they played. So, like, and then you have Sawada, Taquito, like. Sawada, a good skill cap player for DT, and maybe
He's
like some other mechanics like scores, but there's a little bit of that one miss demon like still in him. Like every time I look at a Sawada score in a tournament, I'm like just waiting for the one miss. Like he's gonna have 99.5 and he's gonna have a one miss on the most unfortunate place. The score is capped at 600k. Taquito also, like it feels like he's always getting those one misses. Like I'm then obviously Takedo, Bashima and Monko, their tiers slightly below, I
Yeah.
feel, but they're still obviously very good. But there's doubts in each of them playing for like these very hard maps. Like, I think the US is more likely to win statistically and just looking at rosters, but I think Germany will win out of gut feeling. And just like the way they match up in this pool is also peculiar enough to that to the point that I think Germany has a very, very real shot and slightly better players for the maps that they'll probably go for. So I'm choosing Germany. I know this is going to be a very close match, and this could go either way. Like, I think Miles hoping for a 7-3 is a little bit ingenuous.
I said it could go TB.
I'm glad Dada is embracing the chaos. I think that's a little bit too much chaos for me. I'm gonna have to predict the USA as well. When you look at the difference between these SK and German rosters, right? On South Korea, they have their two carries in Karcher and Worst HR player, but then you also have your supporting players, whereas on any given map, one of them can like step up and put up a top team score on a map. Players like Nope, KJK, and Parisia will, on any given map, they might put up the best team score. Whereas on Germany, that's just not really the case. Every single map, it is White Cat, Kriller, and Okinamo. Outside of those core three, it feels like everybody else is really struggling with these later stage pools. And I think White Cat, Kriller, and Okinamo, all three of them are going to have to absolutely pop off if they want to beat the US. I mean, you look at the last 2 weeks, USA's top score in 9 maps last week, 5 maps the week before that. And so I think it's just too tall of an ask for this German team here. The US has so much depth to them. Even Boshiman now is stepping up. Utami looking great as usual. I think third overall behind only Karcher and Malashevsky last weekend. And while yes, I think the pool might favor Germany a little bit, I still think it's going to be US, maybe 7-4 or 7-5.
All right, I'm gonna make it fun. I'm gonna make it fun here.
Alright, I love fun.
Yeah, I like fun too. You were talking before we started this prediction segment about how the USA, they got to be thinking of Germany before coming into the tournament. Pretty sure the opposite is also true.
Mhm.
The United States is the only team that Germany has lost to within the last 2 years of OWC. And the only team that has beaten the USA and Germany this OWC is South Korea. So both of these teams are probably built to take down each other more than anything else. So with that in mind, and with the very few swaps that Germany has made this year, I'm going to also go Germany. I think there's something to be said for how strong Kriller and White Cat have looked throughout this tournament. I think really Utami is the only player who has looked as good as both of them throughout the tournament from the US. I think carry advantage is going to matter more and more as we get later into the tournament also. Yes, the USA as a team scales really well, but if you have really good carry players, then it doesn't matter. It's what we saw in Poland versus Canada. It's what we saw from South Korea against Germany in the finals also. And they also have the JoJo collab, so I have to vote for them. It's just a rule. At least once I have to vote for Germany. Germany, I think, definitely had a rough finals. They did not have a good time versus South Korea, but I simply cannot expect Germany to continue to underperform when this is the one team that they always lose to year after year. You have to expect them to really, really, really want this W, right? Like, this is that moment for Germany to prove themselves as another top team in the World Cup and join South Korea in the pretty elite club at this point of being the only team to have beaten the US in the last 4 years, right? So I think Germany is going to come into this prepared. I think they're going to have really good picks. I think they are going to avoid speed and let the USA pick that, but I think they're going to be really, really strong on the hard rocks. I think they're going to have really good players for some of the free mods outside of that free mod 3, free mod 4 duo. And I think they're going to be really, really strong on stuff that the USA usually wants to avoid, namely some of the mechanics no mod picks. Because USA is still really, really strong on the no mod gimmick maps, more so than the no mod mechanics maps this year. It really feels. That's what I got. It's your time, Aaron.
So, USA Germany have played 4 matches in the last 2 years. Played semifinals, grand finals 2020, winners finals, grand finals 2021. Remind me again what the overall score is of those. It's 4-0 United States. The USA just doesn't lose to Germany. They find a way to win these matches, and it's always in super late stages. So it's always this question of like, who's going to have the better scaling, who's going to have the best late rounds carry performances. I think, as has kind of been said, right, this match is a little bit different than we've seen it be in previous years, because in the past, it's always been Germany, the mechanics team, right? They've always been like the team that USA might ban speed against, might ban like raw mechanics against, and that would pick those maps. You know, they go like the Hard Rock 1 first pick a couple years ago, for instance, or, you know, they'll go to like the Nomad 2, Nomad 5, DT2 types of stuff. And now that actually gets like flipped around a little bit, because the USA built this team that's really good at speed now. But I think it comes down to the carries, and it comes down to Utami, it comes down to Fancy Lad, it comes down to Kriller, it comes down to White Cat. And I think those guys have this confidence from beating this German team 4 times in a row in the World Cups. And they have the knowledge that Germany doesn't have Dust Ice, and that Kriller and White Cat, I'm going to disagree with what Dio said, that Kriller and White Cat are not playing at their best. I was not impressed by them last weekend in the South Korea match at all. And so I think the United States is going to carry in the 2 years of confidence. They're going to carry in the losers, like the winners' final week confidence of having played really well. And I think the USA comes in and wins this. And it, like all of the other matches, other than the finals or the semifinals in 2020, which was 6-0 USA somehow, like all the other matches were super close. And I think this one's going to be close as well, because Germany is capable of playing well. They're capable of doing well. But I think the USA is just at a little better spot right at the moment. And I think they win this, and it's like 7-5 or tiebreaker, because there's a definite way that Germany, if Kriller and White Cat really play their best, and the United States has their players not on their absolute best day, Germany can win this. But I think the United States will win this. And I think they just go back to top 2, and I think they get that matchup against South Korea in the rematch in the grand final.
Yeah, before we move on to the... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, well, before we move on to the next prediction, it feels like the USA has something to prove as well, right? I think general sentiment is that this is the weakest US roster we've seen in quite some time. And they're 1 match away, right, from having the worst placement in, I think, 6 years. But if this USA team beats Germany, beats South Korea, and gets first, the loss of South Korea is just a blip on the radar in, you know, a continued string of first place finishes for the USA. Whereas, of course, if they lose to Germany here, it's absolutely historic.
Aaron, as long as we're going with historic precedent, let's look at recent history. How much have we seen in this OWC? How many times have we seen the team that looked very dominant, very strong, passes the eye test, has great statistics, goes to the next round against the team who looked very shaky or lost the round before? How many times has the team who looked strong won? Almost None on these late rounds. Like, there's just something off in the water about this OWC. There's just something wrong. Like,
Chaos.
you live in Flint, Michigan. I live in Brazil. We have
Wow,
this in
doxed.
common.
Wow, doxed. Unbelievable.
we have this in common. Like, we know when there's something wrong in the water. And I think there's something wrong in the water here.
We have it here too, Dada.
And okay, once again, right, because Twitter is going to be up in flames about this shit again if Germany wins, and I said the United States was going to, I'm literally saying there is a way that Germany can win this match, and it would not surprise me if Germany wins this match.
No.
because-
We're 3-2 this time. We're covered. We're covered
No,
against
yeah,
Twitter.
we're
This
good,
is
we're
our
good.
anti-Twitter
I don't know.
protection.
We're all good.
People just flip out about it every time, and I'm like, you guys understand that, like, literally it's grand finals week. These teams are really good, and this could go either way. I do accept that, right? Like,
No. There's no understanding. This is Twitter. I need my clout. I need my likes.
Yeah.
I need my retweets. All right. Shut the fuck up. It's clout time. All
There
right.
you go.
Every
what I
time
want.
you tweet about our predictions being wrong, you have to pay us $8. Isn't that like the meta now?
$8.
That could be
Yeah.
good.
Nice.
I'd agree with that.
Got
But-
tweeted at by Crystal too about the China-Romania match, but jokes on
my
Crystal.
I don't want to say anything bad about Crystal. I still feel
No,
bad.
I'm
for
joking.
Crystal.
No,
I'm
yeah,
joking. No,
no,
Crystal played so
Crystal-
well that match.
All I hope for
Uh,
Crystal is that he comes back next year and he just like goes Super Saiyan.
Actually,
Because
though.
Yeah,
that
no,
man is
Crystal
insane.
was a beast.
So,
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah, so we are going to talk about both, but we're going to start with the one that we decided on. The grand finals matchup. USA beats Germany, goes up against South Korea. They get the rematch. They lost in tiebreaker. First time they've lost in the winners bracket in a long, long time. And if they beat Germany, they get the rematch against South Korea. And man, oh man, I don't even want to approach this with a 10-foot pole. So we're just going to go same order again. We're going to start off Miles and then go from there. Who wins OWC 2022? Does USA continue their unprecedented streak of dominance, or does South Korea finish out this Cinderella story and win their first standard World Cup is it ever? Is it since like 2014 at the very least?
Hmm.
It's a crazy story.
I'll check. I'll be back.
Okay, so the winner of OWC 2022 is Chaos. And to prove, I'm going to flip my student ID card, and then if it's heads, I'm going to explain how USA wins this. If it's tails, I'm going to explain how South Korea wins this. It is heads, so the United States is winning, guys. Yeah, my gut goes with USA too, because, like, you know, they are kind of, yeah. They got that dog in them, though!
They got the dog.
Dog! Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I kind of touched on this when talking about USA versus Germany. This pool really supports super players. And when we are talking about which team has had better super player performances in this tournament, it would have to go to South Korea with Karcher and worst HR player. And they would usually have a +1 as well of their newer players that we still don't really know. Allegrisimo, he's good at Hard Rock, I think. I think Parisia is good at DT, but also really consistent elsewhere. But I still couldn't accurately give an analysis on those players. This is a matchup where you have to go with your gut. And I flipped my student ID, and it landed on top. I am a proud United States supporter. I think the USA will win. I think the US will win. I will not tell you why. The only skill sets that I think I could edge out to one team here is I think the United States can win speed, but if you look at South Korea's previous matches, they have fought on every skill set. I think, like, they broke point DT against this Germany team. They can do it against the United States as strong as they are, but it's really going to be which team has the people stepping up. Obviously, you're going to be looking for the heroics from Utami, which weren't really present in the first half of the tournament. We saw some sparks of early 2022 Utami in finals. I think they're going to need that again. Really want Utami to play well. Need to see the same from Rectigon, I think, as well, who is kind of hailed as the number 2 player for US this year. Going to need to see that out of him. obviously the power roster for this USA has been Fancy, Takedo, Sawada, not Sawada.
Sawada. I mean, on
I'm a-
speed, maybe, as long as you don't
Yeah,
mind
on
him one
speed, on
missing and
speed,
getting
yeah.
650k.
If
So
Takedo's playing speed, then there's something wrong with the lineup, I think.
No, I think Sawada is going to do really well in the speed picks in this matchup. He's going to be a guy they're going to look to. He did really well on the DT2 last week. He's going to do well on this DT pool as well. Love my guy Sawada. But it's going to be Fancy, Rectigon, Takedo, Utami. Every map that the USA can put those 4 players in is going to be a scary map. But, you know, South Korea beat those 4 players on SFTB. And, you know, this tiebreaker is kind of shades
Heck
of the technical map.
TB. Yeah.
So, you know what? If it goes to TB, I would actually favor South Korea. But this is going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a dogfight. The team that has the better performers is going to win on the day. And if you try to analyze this match and like, oh, this team is better at this team is better at that. No, fuck, that doesn't fucking work. It's going to be which team has the better players on the day. So I'm going to believe in my boys from the USA. I'm going to say they can do this. The 8 chosen ones in God's country will rise to the task and defeat the South Korean gods as of this OWC. They don't have Cookie Z, but I guess they're Cookie Z, but obviously going to be looking for an absolute stunner of a match, and I am so excited to potentially see this matchup.
It's not a tech tiebreaker, god damn it!
It literally is.
No! Then every tiebreaker is a tech tiebreaker. Last tiebreaker was a tech tiebreaker too. Then
Finals tiebreaker wasn't.
Dada
Finals
Dada
tiebreaker
has
wasn't
had
a tech
enough.
tiebreaker. What do you? Okay, what do you call this map? What do you call this map if not at
it's
least
an
a tech- at
OWC
least-
Grand Finals tiebreaker, just like RPG, just like Upar's, just like every
Multi-skill.
other fucking OWC
All right,
tiebreaker.
all right, whatever.
Sound like-
Everything is tagged.
That's a scapegoat.
Everything
2020
is
was a year of
tagged.
speed, though.
No.
2020 was a speed year.
Yeah, Uparts was a speed map, unironically, but
Uparts was
that's
a speed
beside the
map.
point.
Okay,
Anyway.
calm down. Calm down.
All right, Dada, what you got?
Breathe. South Korea will win. You know why? Do you want to know why they'll win? Because it's
They got that
written.
dog in them.
It's written in the stars. Okay. Ever since this tournament started, I think someone somewhere decided, hey, South Korea is winning this tournament. We'll give them the narrative. We'll give them all of the close matches. We'll give them all of the energy. We're gonna make them the lovable underdog who somehow overperformed and is here. They have the bracket reset advantage as well from being in winner's bracket. Do I think it's gonna be close? Absolutely. Do I think statistically the US is better and should be favorites? Yes. Do I think that matters? No. Just based off of precedent in this tournament alone? Do I think it'll go to a bracket reset? Yes. But
Question.
there's something. There's just something. The South Korea roster just has the it factor. They just have the intangibles, the dog in them. They're out for blood. They're blah 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 blah. Any other catchphrase you wanna develop and assign to this South Korea. This team is just special. They have Karcher and Worsley Sharp player playing the best OSU of their lives. They have all these supporting players just doing a phenomenal job. People we didn't know about, people we didn't pay attention to, like Alec Griezmann, Parisia, Nongsa, Zyson. We knew about Nope and Zyson, and they're arguably the worst players in the South Korean roster this tournament. The players we didn't know about are the ones that are stepping up. This team is just, it's a scriptwriter's dream. It's a narrative dream. This South Korean team is a movie story. And if you're the US and you lost to this team, there's gotta be something in the back of your mind that you're going dude, I just think this is their year. What can we do? There's just something weird. South Korea is it. I don't know, man.
Jeez.
I have a question. If it goes to
Oh.
bracket reset, will it be played right after,
Yeah,
or will it be
yeah.
played the next morning?
Right
Okay,
after.
in
No,
that
it's right
case,
after, I'm sure.
if this match is 3 UTC if it's USA versus South Korea. So if this ends up going to bracket reset, USA is going to have a bracket reset match starting at midnight
and
EST.
you would know
probably.
something
Yeah.
about that.
I know something
you would know
about
something
that.
about that.
Okay, so for context, for WC 2020, we went to bracket reset against Hong Kong, and the match ended at like 2:30 in the morning, and we just lost every single speed pick in bracket reset. It was really funny, and we used those picks in the first set like very well. I don't know if this USA team is gonna start losing speed to SK, but that's gonna be a real advantage for South Korea going into bracket reset, because being tired like kind of exists. We saw it happen to Utami earlier in the tournament. If he is not shooting at all cylinders, it's going to be pretty rough for US. But that bracket reset being extremely late in the night for the US is going to be an advantage. But this team does have some players in the further west time zones. Not going to be afraid for Fancy, Bashi, probably not Decatur either. Monko's still in California, yeah. So you know
Yeah,
what?
it's Taquito and
Sawada.
and Rectagon.
Yeah, Rectagon. And
Although I'm
Decatur
pretty sure those guys have like the most like fucked up sleep habits anyway. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
but Rectagon, or not Rectagon, Decatur is Texas, so he's going to be -6. Probably not going to be too bad for him. But like Sawada, Taquito, maybe be a little afraid for them, but I still trust them. USA wins, bro.
I flame.
Well, I so badly want to see the South Korean team complete the Cinderella story, take the whole tournament. I think it would be so exciting. I would love to see bracket reset, of course. They're just fun. Now, I have predicted against South Korea every single match since semifinals, and I have been wrong every single match since semifinals. And so, maybe
You're gonna pick against South Korea.
I'm gonna pick against South Korea again. I'm gonna do it. Every time I pick against South Korea, they win, and so I have to do it again. So I'll say USA will take this one. I will say I do think the US has looked incredibly strong in the last 2 rounds, especially, top scoring every single map they won against South Korea. And so I do think they are a very strong team, as much as I hope South Korea wins. I think the US is just stronger and has more depth.
Okay. I'll be right back. Keep going.
Okay, T1G then. You're up.
Oh, wow. Okay. So USA looked really good last week. USA always looks really good in late rounds. USA has Utami, Fancy Lad, etc., etc. South Korea has Karcher and worst HR player. And that has been the entire like late stage of this tournament. That's been the best duo, right? Match after match. It's been Karcher, it's been worst HR player, it's been whoever the third and fourth are filling in it very well. And South Korea has been winning. In my life, I have never picked against the United States in a single pick'em. Go back to 2018, 2017, whatever. I have literally never picked against the United States until right this split second. I don't know what South Korea is doing this year, but they're doing it better than anyone else. They're getting literally the best OSU, as Dada said, that Karcher and worst HR player have ever played in their lives in the most important moment for them to do it. They could not be like more clutch out of the South Korea team, the performances that they've been getting from their players over the past several weeks to come back and win on tiebreaker against Canada, come back and win on tiebreaker against the United States, dominate Germany in the winners final. They're just inevitable. There's whatever it is, South Korea just feels inevitable. They're going to get 2 really good scores out of Karcher and worst HR player on basically every map. They're going to get a really good backing score from Nongsa, from Parisia, from Alagrisma, whoever it may be. United States has not looked, in terms of their carries, outside of like Utami last weekend. Overall, in general, their carries have not looked as good as they have in the past years. They don't have the unstoppable Utami 2021 buff. They don't have the unstoppable Vaxei and Fancy Lad 2020 buff. They don't have the unstoppable Vaxei and Idki 2019 buff. Whatever the aura was around the United States that they had in the past does not feel like it's here anymore. And South Korea were the ones to break it in the semifinals, in the winners bracket. And South Korea is going to be the ones to break it again here in the in the grand final. And they're gonna just put together this unbelievably historic year where they win 4 out of 5 mode World Cups.
I have to agree. With T1G's prediction here.
He went to grab his dog.
Where's
What a guy.
I had to grab my dog. Because
Okay,
I mean
he had to grab his dog so that he can have his dog here for that.
exactly. For the
I'm-
very last one. And yeah, I'm being told to
Apparently,
buy a little bit
yeah.
of time, so I'm going to introduce my dog. Say hi to Maggie.
Hi.
She's cute.
Maggie,
Wait, I have a
aw.
dog of the same breed. Let me bring him in.
Go, let's go.
It's just gonna be the dog. Yeah, can we like put like 2 treats in front of the dog and like whichever one they pick?
Stream.
Yeah, like like the one on the left is the United States, the one on the right is South Korea, and then whichever one they pick, that's the pick you go with.
Is that
There
gonna
you
be your
go.
pick? Okay.
It'd be like what was it? Somebody they had like was it in the Japan Germany game? They used some animal to pick, and it picked Japan to win, and Japan ended up winning.
Yes,
I-
I remember
There you
that.
go.
I remember that. Oh, I see Miles' dog.
And now Miles has a dog, so we've got multiple dogs on stream.
We got
We
multiple
have
dogs.
Grab mine,
Miles
too.
isn't even voting for South Korea. He's still got the dog out.
we have that dog in in us in this stream. We've
He
got
was not
that dog,
cooperating.
All right.
but they don't agree. Also, shoutouts. United States is still tied with England 0-0 in the 73rd minute. Can they
I
score a
believe that
goal,
we will
please?
win.
Can someone
I
score?
believe that we
Yeah.
will win.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's soccer. They don't do a lot of that scoring
No.
stuff.
No,
they don't.
we do. It's just that you guys don't really play like good soccer, so it's kind of hard to score.
Oh wow, okay, all right. I
True,
mean,
true, true.
England did score 6 goals in their opener against Iran.
Yeah,
so
no.
it kind of does have a point. And then Iran went ahead and beat Wales.
Yeah,
I haven't
Brazil
seen
did
people
lose to
beating
Germany
Wales
by a
that
score of
badly
7-1.
ever since I went to Japan.
Ooh.
All right. I
USA
think
gonna lose to Poland. I don't think they can lose to Poland because they already beat Poland and Poland's been eliminated.
Yeah.
So,
Man,
So instead,
right,
they're going
Dio.
to lose to South Korea because I agree. I agree with Dada, and I agree with Aaron. And at the same time, as we all know, South Korea really do got that dog in them. They are just. The story is here. They are the best team. They're gonna win this World Cup also. And the reason is that Karcher and Worst HR Player are just that good. You can look at the statistics and you can say, yeah, USA statistically looks a lot better. Looked a lot better in semifinals also looking at the statistics. And we all know how that match turned out. USA top scored 5 maps in the semifinals pool. They still lost. They still lost to South Korea.
you can keep your statistics. I prefer the Magic.
Exactly.
And South Korea's
exactly.
the motherfucking Magic.
It's the fucking South Korea Magic. South Korea top scored 3 maps, only 3 of them on the finals pool and the semifinals pool. Okay, they top scored the tiebreaker too, but it was one of 2 semifinals tiebreakers. So that doesn't really count. They top scored 3 maps in the regular pool in both semis and finals, and guess what? They won both of those matchups against the 2 favorite teams in the entire tournament. So at the end of the day, we're going 3-2 here on this desk for South Korea because, and I need a pause after this from everyone else. Get it? Pause. They got that dog in them.
Fuck, man.
There we go. That's the dog
What a-
in all
It's
8
dog.
South Korea
It's
members.
8 dogs.
Look at that dog.
It's 8 dogs. They got it.
8 of the guys on the
Oh
same
my
team.
god.
Oh my god.
It's the
8
Cinderella
dogs.
story of all time. Oh my God, South Korea, baby, let's go.
8 dogs in South Korea versus the U.S. 3-2. South Korea takes it. How about 8 dogs versus the Germans?
Yeah,
What do we
yeah.
think about
So
that
real
one?
quick,
Ooh.
because there is a chance. There is a chance that South Korea versus Germany happens. Germany is good enough to beat the United States. There is a world where that occurs. So we do want to at least briefly talk about South Korea versus Germany. So hopefully we can get that up here real quick. There we go. They're flipped. Okay. So this would be a different sort of stylistic matchup, but it's South Korea coming off of a pretty decisive win over Germany. They did not have a decisive win against the United States. It went to tiebreaker. They beat Germany, it was not quite so close. So we do need to really at least touch on this match because there is a chance that it is a non-zero chance that this one occurs. So back down the line we go once more for the last time. South Korea versus Germany, the second possible grand finals match. Again, South Korea maybe wins it, or Germany finally gets over the hump, beats the United States, gets to the grand final. Can they take home an OWC first place prize?
No, Korea is magic. Korea wins this also.
All right, Dio just there. All right,
I'm going.
like South Korea. Yeah.
Okay.
South Korea wins. I don't know. I'm Korea pilled.
Korea-pilled.
After this. I've said it before. I'm Korea pilled. I predicted them to be really good at the start of the tournament. I thought they were going to be at least top 6. They have surpassed my expectations, but I predicted them to be really good at the start of the tournament. I still think they're really good. I think they're better than what I predicted. Course Ace happened, and then they replaced 5 out of 8 players from the Course Ace team and the OWC team from last year, and they just got better. So Korea wins. Korea wins the whole tournament, and it doesn't matter. Also, they've already beaten both the USA and Germany, so they win again. It's that simple.
Yeah, I guess I'll switch it up. I'll go Korea on this one. I would feel a little bit silly if I didn't vote South Korea at least once. I think they're just stronger team than Germany right now. Germany has been underperforming a little bit, so the Korean magic plus the German underperformance, I think they've got it.
US breaks records. Germany breaks records. South Korea breaks the rules. South Korea
isn't
will
so
win
great.
this just like South Korea will win this just like the other one, but I actually weirdly feel that Germany have a good matchup. Weirdly, obviously they lost last time, but as Dio said, as we saw in the VODs and it's say the stats and the difference between maps, it was close. It was very close, and this was knowing full well that Germany had some underperformances from Griller Whitecat. They didn't play 100% up to what we've expected from them. So I think that reasonably Germany has a very real shot of taking this. No matter if we all go with South Korea, I think Germany has a deceptively big chance of winning this if it does go to Germany South Korea in the grand finals. And I do have to say this with full disclosure, because I'm down 5 points in pick'ems, I will be going for a desperado play. So I will be picking Germany to win both matches. So if it does happen, I probably have a good chance of being first. But yeah, I still believe South Korea will win this match.
Miles.
Okay.
Miles.
Smile.
Flip a coin again.
Hi, TYG.
If Germany can get over the United States, it would require 2 things. 1, their backing players to do better on this pool than on the finals pool. And 2, it would mean Kriller and Whitecat had unbelievable matches. And if they're able to repeat an unbelievable performance that could beat the United States, I think they could do it to South Korea. I'm going to eat shit by doubting South Korea on both of the grand finals, but I will acknowledge they've got it. They've got the magic. And I don't need to say that because for the last 30 minutes, all we've been doing is talking about how freaking good they are. So I'm gonna be the dissenter for once, and I'm gonna pick Germany because if this scenario can manage to happen, Germany would have to be in impressive form, like really impressive form. Like I would be talking like on a non-speed pick, expecting FCs from both White Cat and Kriller, and I don't know if South Korea can beat that. But by backing for the backing players, it would mean things like Rising not being skill capped on the speed maps, Neox performing like he did in 2020. It would give them the speed advantage in this matchup, where I think this matchup in particular, speed is going to be massive because it's contested. And usually it is not a contested skill set. So if either team can usurp dominance on it, then it would probably make a large percentage of their picks. And it would also have to mean Smarty clutching like he did in 2020. I think really all the players coming back from the 2020 roster would have to play like they did back then. We'd have to see Okinamo in form, Rising in form, Smarty clutching on Hard Rock. I don't know what to expect from Aimbot Cone and Shark going into this because they kind of did look a little bit shaky on the finals pool. But if they could also put up clutch performances, then there is a world where Germany could get to this place and beat South Korea, and I'm picking Germany to acknowledge that it happens. And we've talked a lot about South Korea, so I'm gonna be the dissenter. I'm gonna say it's possible. Still, like it's a gut pick. All of these picks for all of us have to be gut picks. Chaos reigns. Chaos is the true winner of OWC, and maybe Germany can beat South Korea here.
No, he's from Hong Kong. He didn't even play this year. Chaos.
Yeah, Chaos Blitz. I mean, he mapped like round of 16, no mod 4.
I miss Chaos. Let's OWC.
He's a good guy.
So again, like it's just South Korea being, I think, the better team here. Like they just beat Germany in the winners final. They're riding this super high point of all of their tournament careers, and they're playing really well. And it's pretty much been done to death at this point. How South Korea, we just expect them to win this. I actually, contrary to what Dada said, I think if in a world where South Korea beats either the United States or Germany, I actually think Germany is an easier matchup for South Korea. I think Germany's scaling falls off on their fill players in a way that is worse than what happens to the United States or South Korea, I think. So I think the match against Germany would actually be a more in favor of South Korea than the match against the United States, even though I think even though I'm picking them to win either way. So South Korea just wins, and again, just the point that we've been making. Oh yeah,
France.
I'm picking France. I mean, again though, to reiterate, right, this is a matchup that regardless of who wins USA versus Germany will be probably super close. Like South Korea versus Germany, South Korea versus USA, both are probably pretty close. I think South Korea is a little closer matchup with USA, as I said, but I think they're just playing amazingly well. They've got all the momentum you could possibly ask for. They've got insane amounts of confidence. Clearly, the Karcher versus HR player and all the others, they're just really confident. They're playing really well, and I think they just win. It is as simple as that. 4-1 grand finals, South Korea over Germany. 3-2 grand finals, South Korea over United States. It's a good weekend either way, though, right? Like, I'm pretty sure both matches, regardless of who wins, will be good unless somebody just decides to not show up at all and underperforms more than we would ever expect them to.
We're guaranteed to get USA versus Germany, and in any case, it's a historic weekend already, as seed number 5 for the first time in several years is in the winner's bracket of grand finals. It's awesome.
And that's about it. Unless anybody's got any final thoughts from Miles or Dot or iFlame. It's
I've obviously, as you can see, I've given up on like making sense. I've given up on rationality as a
Yeah, it's impossible.
that-
Nobody knows what's going on this year.
Yeah, no, this OWC has just been too wild. Like, it's not even just the results. Like,
It's been crazy.
everything has been crazy. We've gone from cheater drama that we've literally not had in the middle of OWC ever since like 20.
Yeah.
Maybe
2018.
Ever since 20.
Chode made
Yeah.
And we've had
It's been a wild sort of World
crazy
Cup.
results,
Yeah.
weird pools, just like it's chaos. Everything is chaos, and nothing makes sense anymore. Which I suppose is the perfect scenario for a new winner to emerge from the ashes. So, if it's any year to be not a US dominated year, this is the best candidate for it. And I'm excited to see all the matches this grand finals weekend. I'm really excited to see if we get like the US proving everyone wrong and their demise has been like greatly exaggerated, or if we get a new winner and if it's the South Korean like movie like storyline, or if it's Germany finally beating all their demons. So it's really, really cool to see so many storylines develop this OWC. I think it's been a phenomenal time. I think it's probably the first grand finals weekend where I'm not like already 99% sure what the result is going to be, and it makes me really, really happy to see.
I will add one thing about the kind of history for this team's the USA. We kind of already know the history. South Korea, over the course of every OWC, has been top 4 in every year besides 2018 and 2020. They have been top 4
That's nuts.
every year besides those 2 years.
The USA
But they have not won since 2013. And they have
13. Okay.
yeah, since 2013. And the last time they were top 2, of course, was 2019. So this is already a very good year for South Korea. But if they do win, it would be the first time for them in 9 years to have won the OS World Cup. And then last but not least for Germany, this is a team that has never won the World Cup. They were 3rd place in 2014, top 6 in 2015, 16, and 17, and then, of course, 3rd, 4th, 2nd, and 2nd for the last 2 years. So all 3 of these teams are very hungry for a win. The U.S., because they have already lost now 1 match in this World Cup, the first time in a very long time. Korea, because it will be their first since 2013, and Germany for their first ever. So I am all about the storylines. I'm all about the storylines this OWC. This weekend's going to be so much fun.
Yep. It's storyline. I mean, it goes insane. I don't know. There's some script writers at work here. You've got USA trying to win once again. They've been top 2 every year since 2015. Top 1 for all but 2 of those years. Or all but 1 of those years. Excuse me. And then, as Dio said, like, it's nuts. So we have tomorrow, 18 UTC. United States versus Germany, that losers bracket final. Can Germany knock USA out of top 2 for the first time since 2014, or USA can get back into grand finals? Remember, grand finals 2019, USA won 7-0 against South Korea. So there's that to keep in mind. Or, we get the Cinderella story. Send it off to Hollywood if South Korea wins this one, because I think it would be a pretty good movie. Tomorrow, 18 UTC, then Sunday, either 3 UTC or 14 UTC, depending on whether USA or Germany wins, will be the grand final. I believe there's also a show match tomorrow, or it's
There's
like what,
a show match
16
before the
UTC?
losers finals. Yes.
Yeah, 16 UTC tomorrow is a show match. I think it's like mouse versus tablet. I don't know a whole ton about it.
Yeah, it is.
But check in on those. Those are always fun. But for us here, thank you for watching all of our predictions. We'll be back next week with recap and maybe some post-mortem and maybe some other stuff on the OWC 2022 as a whole. Thank you, Dio Miles, Dada, and iFlame for being here. Thank you all for watching. enjoy the weekend. There's going to be a couple of really good matches, no matter who they end up being, and we'll get to crown at the end of it OWC 2022 winner. So enjoy those matches, and we will see you on the other side of Grand Finals weekend. Have a good one. Peace out.
Peace. Wait, we forgot to cover the
The
last skill match.
dog!
I don't care.
I top scored the tiebreaker.
I
Aaron.
don't
We have
care.
to cover
Goodbye.
it.
Goodbye.
Good night.